Oh, another one.
There you go, the world should be able to hear you now.
Hello, world. It's always the first thing in your program, isn't it? Hello, world. Connection lost.
404.
No one does it, yeah.
Error 0.
Syntax error.
I'd like to thank you all for coming, of course, tonight. I understand it's a Friday night, so people obviously want to be going out and doing other things. But, you know, 3D printing is quite a community-based thing, especially with like models and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you coming out. Obviously, hope you support the Hackspace, hope you support 3D filler print, and yeah.
We've got kids. You open them.
As long as you're interested, you know. Good.
Oh yeah, he's making notes on what he wants me to have a go at with it.
You've got to get better at it than her, you know that, didn't you? It's going to be your printer.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, he can have a go.
When do we start asking for model stuff?
Yeah, well, he started on the he started on the iPad on the Cold 3D, and I have one of those.
He's got his shopping basket.
Yeah, he's done his own file on there. Yeah, stuff that mum's making. You know, but you might need to slow down a little bit.
Looking at like the 60 quid Warhammer models and all that sort of stuff.
No, full chest set, and I was like, I haven't got enough filament to do one of them shit. Just
Well, you can buy some. Oh, yeah.
I was like, let me start something smaller first. We're not going straight in.
He wants a pair eyes, mate.
I'm just here for the commission.
He's salesman at mine at the moment.
It's terrible. Well, I say, I think it looks like we're going to be going away with one of your shiny greens. I know that's a fact.
Yeah, it's really one that Steve made.
Yeah.
What was the colour of the?
Blue-green.
Yeah.
Blue-green two-tone. We do have one we brought along for sale. We don't have a great stock of stuff here tonight because obviously it's just a little local
Yeah, I
event.
was telling you about that. I said it just went on and on and on. There's shelves and stacks and...
Honestly, I probably went through about 10% of the different stuff that we have. We've got like some metal filaments down with us tonight, flexibles. It's just there's so much you can do with so many different materials. It's probably a bit overwhelming for new people, unfortunately, but hopefully me and Arif are here to help you try and navigate that, decide what's best, decide what's the best consumer is an informed consumer. It's just a can of spray paint, yeah, you'll be all right.
Are you streaming?
Huh?
Technical.
Streaming it?
Yeah.
Streaming.
Yes, Tim is doing it on, not Tim, sorry about that, Scott is doing it. Ooh. Is it an insult to Tim or an insult to Scott? I'm not going to touch that. Scott here is streaming it on the Hackspace Twitch account. We did one here last year where they streamed it and it went alright and we would put up on our YouTube and stuff like that. So
I hope you haven't got banned because of them.
Inappropriate then.
So what else goes on at Hackspace then? Because obviously I come into fingerprint, but I've not heard of
There's a
Hackspace.
spill.
yeah, he probably knows better than me because he actually helps organise and run it. So I'll let Scott take over.
Yeah.
So I'm Scott, I'm one of the trustees here. We've also got Steve and Steve. So the Hackspace is a charity. We're very ably supported by Rochford Council, who provided us this building. But it's best thought of as a community workshop. So we provide all the tools, equipment and that sort of thing that you might not be able to afford, fit into your garage or bedrooms and that sort of thing. And you can come down and use all of our equipment, as well as we have quite a large community now. As you can see, we can generate quite a few people to turn up to some events and to teach you how to use things like 3D printing, as well as we've got a metalworking shop, woodworking shop, lovely big laser cutter, CNC machine. We've got a water jet cutter, which is brand spanking new to us, which a lot of you wouldn't have in your garage typically unless you were truly mad.
Give some ideas, man.
Yeah. There you go. But the grand thing is, you don't need to buy it because we've already got it, and for £10 a month, you can access the space. That's not like a gym membership. You're not in a contract. You can come in and out of it. So if you've got a project that you know is going to last you 3 months, you can sign up for 3 months and then
Are you
never
on
see us
the
again.
Hackspace locations?
No, we're separate to men's sheds, and yeah, that's an actual that's a different organisation. We're a charity.
Similar sort of concept though, isn't it?
Um,
Though they're like woodworking and things like that.
Similar concept, but with respect to my colleagues over at men's sheds, we didn't want to sort of brand us as men only.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sort of chose that route. There are other hack spaces in the country, Nottingham, London.
Foundation who
Yeah.
organise various things for the group of hack spaces as a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're dotted around all over the UK. And
Yeah, Steve.
some other things in other countries as well.
Apologies, Steve, but they won't be able to hear you online or in the recording. So because I don't have a microphone. But yeah.
If
Yeah, there we go. So that's one thing. If we can keep questions to the end.
yeah, we do have a Q&A bit at the end.
Yeah, we've got a Q&A bit, but the one thing we found out last time is that no one can hear you unless you've got the microphone in your hand. So when we do the Q&A at the end, just put your hands up and we'll bring the microphone to you and then you can ask your question and you can go backwards and forwards with Ben and Arif that way.
If you,
Okay.
I know a lot of you guys do, but if you don't have a 3D printer, they do have some here as well. So, and they're more than happy to, like Steve and Scott are more than happy to walk you through like how to do your first slice and stuff like that. Yeah, he's nodding his head, so I'm not in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we do down there.
For no cost. Yep, all good. Okay, does that answer the question of what is a hack space?
Yeah.
Grand. Lovely, okay. Well, I guess over to you then, Ben.
Hello, Internet people. I am Ben from 3D Philiprint. We're a 3D printing company in the UK, based in Southend in Essex. We've been around for 10 years as of last October. We're the largest supplier of 3D printing consumables in the UK. We supply to universities, businesses, and loads of enthusiasts, prosumers, and hobbyists. People who, want to do their own 3D printing in their sheds or in their houses or whatever it may be, all the way up to like big companies. We've got a presentation today. It's basically just a little brief introduction about 3D printing and then some questions from the audience. Twitch chat are also welcome to ask some questions at the end. That'll be managed by Scott, the volunteer Hackspace member. I can't remember what you're called, trustee? Trustee. That's trustee. I was struggling with that there. The trustee. The presentation will last about 20 minutes, give or take. But yeah, any questions, just hold them off to the end if that's all right. So let's get started. So what does 3D Philiprint do? We sell the consumable materials for 3D printers. Everything okay?
Yep.
Okay. We sell the consumable materials for 3D printers, so the plastics, the metals, or the liquids, or whatever your printer uses, we sell the consumables for it. So if you want to 3D print biodegradable stuff, we have like a PLA plastic. If you want to 3D print whatever, we have materials for that, and we can help advise you about that because there's so many materials out there. Some of you guys will be aware. It can get quite overwhelming, and having someone to reach out to sometimes can be a big help. We sell 3D printers as well, so we keep a nice stock of various different sized and different budget machines. So we've got really big machines, we've got really small machines, and everything in between. We've got machines with like Wi-Fi capabilities, built-in cameras, high-speed printers now. We also do a lot of spare parts. 3D printers are moving machines. They're not just static things. So there are bits, wears and tears, rods and things will bend and break, and we sell a wide variety of spare parts from multiple brands that we stock. And a lot of the parts of brands will be cross-compatible. So if you've got a nozzle for a Creality, it will also work on artillery most of the time and things like that. We provide advice on 3D printers and filaments, mostly like people come to us with a problem. They'll be like, I've got this machine, I want to make this. We had a customer who wanted to make motorcycle O-rings, and we had to find a filament that worked with the oils and things like that and the temperatures, so we were able to advise him with the machine that he had. We provide a design service. So Arif, over there in the beautiful blue, is a 3D designer. So if you come to us and you have a 3D printer and you don't know how to 3D model, he can make you a 3D model custom. He can design it from your specifications. People have given us drawings on old napkins before, and he's been able to make something absolutely gorgeous out of it. It's always more useful when he's got something to measure off of, especially if it's a part that fits, but he can do really impressive work. Our 3D design software service costs about £25 an hour plus VAT, and we give an estimation based on what we think it's going to cost. It's usually pretty accurate. We have 3D scanning. We have a little few tables on it, busts of people. So what we can do is we can do a 3D scanning of an object or a person. 3D scanning isn't at the point where you can just scan someone in or something and you have a perfect model. It does need a little bit of cleaning up. Again, we offer that as a service, or you can just have the raw files. It's up to you. We offer a 3D printing service as well. Some people don't want the complication or the hassle to learn or like spend the time with the machine, or it might just be space. But you might need that one part that you just can't replace in any other way, and we can offer it as a service. And we offer all the materials we sell and all the machines that we use, we offer with our printing service. And we've got some exciting stuff coming out about that soon that I don't know if I can say. No? Not right now. And we do a lot more stuff, just everything in the 3D printing space, essentially. We can sell you a machine and the materials to use it. We can just sell you the materials. We can just create the 3D models, and you just print them yourself. Every level stage of it that you want to do, either with us or without us, we're more than happy to help you. So, how does a 3D printer make things? Essentially, FDM printers, which is what we're going to be talking tonight, it's a really, really small nozzle that's typically 0.4 millimeters, so absolutely tiny, and a length of plastic wire is pushed down that nozzle at a super high temperature. We're talking like 200, 220 Celsius. It's pushed with enough force that it's able to push out, and it builds out a 3D object, as you can see with this cheese printer. Shouldn't have done this after dinner. As you can see with this cheese printer that's building up the layers, layer by layer. Now this is quite an extreme example. Typically the layers are much smaller and it goes much faster. So you can build up an object without a lot of chunks, shall we say, of burnt cheese. The filaments come in various different diameters depending on what machine you're using. And again, we can provide you advice on that. Typically it's 1.75, but most of the materials we sell come as filaments. We do also do and support resins as well. That's a lot more complicated. We're not really going to be getting into that tonight. It's a bit more advanced than typical FDM printers. The safety is a bit more of a concern and things like that, so we don't typically recommend it for new people. So what materials can we 3D print? Growing in popularity quite a lot is recycled plastics. This can be from everyday items like water bottles, but there's also other kinds of recycled plastics that are collected, like recycled ABS, polypropylene, PLA, which is biodegradable recycled plastic. The recycled plastics we sell range from like 100% recycled, so there's nothing in there but recycled plastic, to 98, and they've got a lot of dyes in them to make them bright colors like blue and yellow and purple, and not just like, oh, it's slightly blue tinted, like properly opaque. We do wood composites. So the way this is done is finely ground wood into a powder is mixed with a PVA style solution. It isn't PVA glue, but it's very similar chemically. The solution is then turned into a plastic wire-like filament. You do print it at a bit of a cooler temperature than most other materials, and it isn't particularly strong, but you can sand it, you can varnish it, you can polish it with wood polishes, you can make some really lovely parts. And we offer that as cork, rosewood, bamboo, honeywood, so many different varieties, and we even have one made out of bamboo. So the wood composites, there's so many different versions of it, and you can often find any particular kind of wood you want, or a very close similarity to one. We do metal composites as well, so if you want like metal filaments, on the table over there we do have some copper filament. It's copper powder mixed with PLA. It's not, again, not super high strength, but it has the properties of copper, so it will oxidize. So as your print is aged in the air, it will go like greenish blue over time, which there are use cases for doing copper parts and things like that, especially if you can use plating with the copper filaments. So you can plate your parts with electrolysis. Am I saying that correctly? Electrolysis. Some of the metals we do are iron, steel. The iron will rust and is magnetic. We do brass, bronze, copper, and potentially more coming out at some point. Nylon filament, super, super strong. You're probably familiar with it as leggings, as nylons as they used to be called. Super, super strong. Often it's mixed with carbon fiber, so you can make like 3D printed carbon fiber parts, 3D printed glass fiber parts, things like that. Super, super high strength. On the table again, we have a brick made out of glass fiber, which is actually the next one down. Carbon fiber filaments. Now, often they're mixed with nylon, but it doesn't always have to be. You can get carbon fiber PET cheese, you can get carbon fiber PLAs. Carbon fibers, it's not how you typically think of it. It's like, people wrap things in carbon fiber. It's shredded up shards of carbon fiber mixed in with the plastic. It still makes it significantly stronger. It just makes it really coarse when printed and when printing. So you have to make sure you have a hardened nozzle. But it makes the carbon fiber shards attach between layers and make your part super, super strong. Glass fiber is very similar. Instead of being carbon fibers, though, it's little shards of glass. When mixed with polypropylene, which is a kind of plastic you might typically know as, I believe, Tupperware is typically made out of polypropylene, it becomes incredibly strong. We have a brick over there, as I mentioned, run over with 7 tons. It's about this big and it's about 75% solid. It's absolutely indestructible. I've taken it to about 2 years worth of shows and I always bet people, 100 quid, you can't break it. People are smashing it on the floor, hitting it with hammers, kicking it across the room. It's still in one piece, so. 3D printable Kevlar, this is a more recent development. It's not bulletproof, sir. Can't make any bulletproof vests, we won't guarantee that. But it's super anti-abrasive. So if you wanted to make gears, for example, moving parts that are going to be constantly rubbing against each other, using 3D printed Kevlar is an excellent solution for that. We do have not just Kevlar name brand, but other aramid fibers as well, if you're familiar with it. And we also do 3D printable rubbers. You can make flexible parts, shoe insoles, tires for, we sponsor a BattleBots team, Team Monsoon. So they do some 3D printed tires on some of their robots, like Robot Wars style. So they can drive them around because they couldn't get tires that were the right size and all this sort of stuff. 3D printed rubber, there's a lot of use cases that you don't think of. Like you can 3D print belts for little motors. You can 3D print dampeners. You can 3D print so many things with rubber. The possibilities are there's so many more things you don't think about. You can 3D print feet for your table. The rubber has a lot more use cases than what you initially come up with. And we also do that in various degrees of flexibility. So if you want one that's like spaghetti and you want one that's quite rigid, you can have whichever degree of flexibility you want. My coworker Arif has actually put together a guide on our website that I'll be showing you in a little bit that specifically talks about how to recognize and understand how tough a particular flexible is and how sort of noodly it is, how wiggly it is. If you'd like to go ahead. Why 3D printing? It's a constantly changing industry and we're constantly bringing on new products. We deal with so many customers who have so many mental, absolutely bizarre ideas. Do you people know what an oboe is? An oboe is a big wind instrument. We have a gentleman who makes oboe tuning forks. Don't know if any of you know what those are. They used to be hand carved out of wood and it's for tuning the instrument in some way. And we have a gentleman who 3D prints them because he knows about oboes and he knows about 3D printing. We've done projects like classic car windows, a 5-foot tall ice cream cone, a gear that's 0.5 millimeter, and the BattleBot, as I mentioned, with the 3D printed tires. The amount of industries that 3D printing has an application in, I'm really understating it. You can do spaceship parts and you can do a replacement handle for your cupboard, everything in between. It can be really advanced or really basic. You can just do a doorstop that looks like a chunk of cheese. There are two ways to approach working in 3D printing if that's something you're interested in. Either you work on the design side like Arif does and you create the 3D models, or you can work with 3D printers and materials and things like that. Like to go ahead, Scott? So, some common questions. What's the largest thing you can print? We've done a 7-foot tall statue of Groot. There'll be a picture in a moment. Life size, all painted and green and hairy and all that sort of stuff. Not hairy, grassy. He's giving me a face. Are 3D printers safe? Modern 3D printers are very safe. They have things like thermal runaway. So if the printer gets too hot, it will automatically shut itself off. We sell printers with Wi-Fi cameras and things like that, so you can remotely monitor your print. They have auto shut-off features for a variety of issues that can occur. They aren't. 10 years ago, they didn't have a great reputation, but safety has been a big focus for a lot of the brands, and we don't sell anything that's dangerous. They're all UK electrical tested and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, 3D printers, modern 3D printers are very safe. We can also provide you any advice if you're doing like industrial 3D printing and things like that. Can a 3D printer 3D printer? That's really how the whole industry had a big start. It was called RepRap, which is this idea of building a 3D printer, printing the parts out for someone else, and then they can build the 3D printer. It's sort of why the 3D printing has such a organic community, I suppose. It's very much, people want to help you out. If you go onto the Facebook groups and things like that with, let's say, a P1P and you're having an issue with one of the rods, people will help you out because people have had those issues before, and it fosters a sort of community. That being said, you can always come to us with any issues. We're more than happy to talk with you over the phone or email as such. And does a 3D printer cost a lot? We have a 3D printer for sale on our website right now, which is £112 pre-VAT. It's a small printer, but it's a name brand quality machine. It has modern safety features. It has a carry handle. We don't have one with us tonight, but it's an open format printer. It's nice, it's reliable. One of my co-workers has one personally and has been using it quite a lot, and has even been able to print the metal filaments on it without issue. 3D printers have come down massively in cost over the last couple of years. The cost of the materials is down, the cost of the machines is way down, and the quality of machine that you get is up. Oh, so I'm going to need you to navigate for me here, Scott, if that's okay. There are links in it. Is that going to be a problem?
No.
So on our website, some things that might be useful to you if you're new to 3D printing is we have a guide for available materials, if you want to click that.
I hope this shows up.
Hey! So if you scroll down, you just clicked. I just saw you.
This one?
Yeah, go back a page. There you go. So we have a guide for all of our materials. So if you're looking for, let's say, carbon fiber filaments, we have just a section. You can just find all of them, and you can navigate by that. And then you can go in there and filter by compatibility and things. If you go back to the slideshow. So it's going to be a lot of back and forth. We have a knowledge base as well. So if you can click that. Now, the knowledge base is really useful because if you scroll down, it has typical print setting, issues you might encounter with various different materials. Some of these are generic, like ABS, which is a fairly standard material, as well as ABS-X, our own version of ABS. You can click on, let's say, nylon. And you can see we've put together a nice overview about the materials, the benefits, why people like it, problems you might encounter, such as it's hydroscopic, so it really absorbs moisture. You really need to dry out your nylon filaments. We talk about it's set up to be new user friendly. People who are new to 3D printing. This is totally free on our website. It's all accessible. If you scroll down, there's even typical print settings, pros and cons. You can see the sort of enclosures required and all that, some example prints. And we've got this for loads and loads of materials. If you wouldn't mind going back to the slideshow. Back to the knowledge base. I've gone, and then back a page. Middle tab. And then back a page. Okay. I need one of those laser pens. Scroll down to the bottom. Just to point out, we have our Sure Hardness guide. So if you're interested in flexible parts, rubber filaments, things like that, this is a guide that explains how flexible all the materials are to each other. Unfortunately, flexibles are extra confusing because there's 3 different units of measurement. Sure Hardness, it's a bit like meters, miles, and kilometers. Maybe not miles and kilometers, but there's 3 different units of measurement. So you scroll down, you can see it compares the sure hardness of different materials and you can use that to figure out how tough and flexible you need your part to be. So 70A is more flexible than 83A, for example, which is more flexible than 85A, and then it goes down the list and you can help find out these sort of things. We also talk about typical use cases and all that sort of stuff. This has been quite popular, particularly with our customers who use a lot of flexibles. It really helps them navigate between the different brands and things like that. If you go back to the slide. We have a blog as well. We post typically about just over a blog a month or so. Loads of interesting information on there, talking about how to use large spools for this one, and then I believe the one underneath is about recycled filaments, different things every month, just something we like to promote, talk about, stuff like that. Sometimes it's projects, sometimes it's materials. To the presentation. And finally, we have our socials. We have a TikTok where we do guides, but also entertaining stuff. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's all similar idea. We post promotional stuff, but we also post guides. So it's, for example, we've got a TikTok coming out about the rings that you print for the cardboard spools, for the P1P enclosure system, because it doesn't work with cardboard spools. So what you can do is you can print cardboard rings. And we'll have, I'm going to try and set it up so we'll have one for our Filaprint brand. And I believe that's it. If any of you have any questions, I hope I kept it brief enough. And hello, sir.
The latest of He's here for the important bit, though. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, the Q&A, obviously, because everyone has a lot of questions about 3D printing. So if any of you do have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. If you don't want to talk, obviously, on the live stream, you can approach me afterwards, and I'm more than happy to talk and things like that.
Anyone got any questions?
Is there anywhere that runs?
Upstairs.
Is there anywhere that runs classes on how to use the software? So like the design, various different design softwares that are about.
So the Hackspace has open evenings for these things, as well as they have members here who are very versed in 3D printing. You can obviously talk to us about any particular issues you're running into, and we can advise you on like online guides as well. I know that Arif has a YouTube series that he likes to recommend to people. I can't remember the name of it.
That would be the teaching tech. There are quite few of them up there, but teaching tech, he did one of the super slicer settings where you can calibrate your printer, especially if it's your first printer. And it also shows how to calibrate your filament if you got a brand new filament in and you don't know like which settings to use, so it will give you like pointers. Okay, you can do these settings, and that will make sure that whatever you print after this calibration, it will come out perfect. But there are other great YouTubers out there as well. So if anything comes like that, we can always recommend them. Software-wise, there are loads of softwares which are free. Some of them are paid ones. So always we recommend to start with just the basic ones so you can kind of get used to it and then jump up one step ahead. I think Scott will tell us what they guys provided here.
Yeah, so generally we recommend Cura. Partially because we have two small little computers called two small printers called Lowellsbots, and they were locked to a version of Cura, so it was just easier to teach everyone Cura. That is pretty widely known. It's a free software as well, which we try and recommend free software where we can. It's also very well supported on things like YouTube and that sort of thing. But there are other ones, Super Slicer's probably another big one, Prusa Slicer, which I think is a variant of Super Slicer.
Your printer specifically is based off a version of Prusa Slicer.
Right.
It's basically just a skin of it, and they moved all the buttons to the left for some reason.
Right.
But it's almost exactly the same options, I believe, from what I've used personally and seen online. It's very similar.
Yeah, I hit on that one earlier on this week, kind of waiting, clicked a few bits on it.
There's a really strong YouTube community about 3D printing. There's probably about 5 or 6 I could probably just recommend off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure every members of the Hackspace and Stephen that could probably come up with a few, like CNC Kitchen's a really good one, Maker's Muse, 3D Printing Nerd. I can give you a list later if you like.
Is another one from UK. He do a lot of great stuff. Tom and Tom Slander. Yeah, I can't pronounce his last name, so I just leave it to Tom. And there's another Tom Stanton. He do quite great stuff. He do air-powered engines, and some of his stuff is just amazing, like mind-blowing stuff.
Some of the 3D printed YouTubers are, like, they're focused around the hardware of 3D printers, and some of them are focused around 3D printing projects. Yeah. So if you really want to get inspiration, they do some incredible projects. CNC Kitchen's probably one that's more focused around hardware. He does a lot talking about like different nozzles and things like that, whereas Maker's Muse does like videos about battle bots and such, like different sort of content, but there's usually a middle ground. Everyone does a bit of everything, I suppose. We do also have a YouTube channel. There are a few guides up there. The one that we have that's really popular is about 3D printing articulated parts. Yeah. So like in one piece, they're not assembled. We have some examples on the table there. He's got an axe.
He's got an axe and it's looking suspiciously like it.
Yeah, we have.
Very disturbing turnaround that was.
Hopefully later this year we'll have some more guides up on the YouTube channel. We've got a plan going forward and all that, so fingers crossed it will all work out. But yeah, YouTube's a really good place to find good resources. There are quite a lot of YouTubers as well who've got the bamboo printers like you do, so yeah. They've been using them and such, making content with them.
Okay. Any more questions?
So what printers are here? You talked about 2 small Lowellsbots.
What?
God.
What printers do you have here?
Steve, the trustee, is asking what printers we have here, so it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. I can answer that question and then Arif wouldn't take him out. So the printers we currently have here are the 2 Lowellsbots. They're
Can I not see my pretty face anymore?
Yeah, apologies. Something happened there. I think the camera got bored of you there, Ben. Yeah, we have an
camera I
Ender 5
want.
Pro, which does kind of our large factor printing. And then recently we've acquired, you're going to have to help me out, Steve, the Iglo Saturn.
Gufu Mido, which is a high temperature printer. So this will do engineering filaments like Peak and other ones that require a really hot end. We also have a CR10 Max, which is being worked on.
And who can use them?
Anyone, provide any member. We'll cheerfully do inductions.
Yeah, so the other thing to note is that we do inductions on them, so that is like a one-to-one session with probably Steve, to be honest, because he tends to lead them, but there are quite a few people now in the Hackspace who could lead you through those and teach you the basics. We're here.
Yeah, but the
There are other Hackspaces, yeah. It's quite a loose organisation. We only run here.
Like a group of
but
independents, really.
Yeah, it's a family group.
Like a McDonald's,
yeah.
it's like franchised.
Yeah. Normally the conversation goes, help, we've got this problem that no other industry or company would have. How have you guys solved it? So, yeah, and that's the kind of level. But we do have people who've multiple members of multiple Hackspaces. But yeah, for this one, you can come down and just get an induction on our machines or just ask. Discord is our best way of communicating as well. And
A lot of members of the Hackspace who have their own printers don't necessarily come down here and use the printers. They'll come down here and use other bits of equipment. The hobbyist side of 3D printing has grown massively, so a lot of people who are just interested in making their own stuff have 3D printers. So you'd be surprised how many people in your local community have like 3D printers. Loads and loads of people. We get walk-ins from Southend all the time. People who've had them for like a couple of years. They didn't realise we were around the corner and stuff like that. We had a customer in, was it Westcliff, who'd been ordering us for like 3 years. They didn't realise we were just in Southend. He'd just been ordering online and not looking at it. But yeah, there are more people using them than what you think. There's a growing number of them out there. Yeah, there's generally a strong community.
Lovely.
And do you run Do you run workshops here, or like what sort of things do you run? Is it just a walk-in service, or do you run sort of organised things once a month, or what's?
Yeah, so primarily we're a walk-in service that's providing you the access to the equipment. So there's not someone here like 24/7 waiting for people to walk through the door. The equipment's here. Once you're a member and you've had your induction, you can walk in and use the equipment. But we do workshops, so we do events like this. As most of the people in the room will know, you don't need to be a member to come to our events. These are free and open to everyone to come on down. There are sessions for like woodworking as well. There's a woodworking class that is fully subscribed at the moment, but slots may open up. You don't need to be a member for that either. So we are running classes. Likewise, we're always on the hunt for people who want to run their own classes down here. So if you do have something of interest that you think people might want to learn, there might be a piece of tool, might be a tool that you want to teach people how to learn. We can run one-offs or a series of workshops like that.
And then do you run all ages, or is it sort of adults, children?
Yeah, so just for insurance reasons, it's over 18s to be a member. But however, you can bring your children down, but you are responsible for their safety, essentially. So, yeah,
Next
as long
question,
as they're not...
membership. How do you become a member?
That's great. So to become a member, you can turn up to one of our induction nights. So we run induction nights every other Tuesday, starting at 8 o'clock. It might be myself, it might be another guy called Tim who will come down. That induction, it tends to more be about health and safety, about how to use the space, how to access the space and all that sort of thing. And then after that, you can subscribe to be a member. You pay £5 for a lifetime membership to the charity, and then it's £10 a month for access to the space. And like I said before, I might cover this at the beginning of the stream, but it's not like a contract or anything like that. You can dip in and out of that for a couple of months on that. But yeah, okay.
Yep, thank you.
Grand. Any 3D printing focus questions just for now?
So you're based in Southend?
Yeah, we are based in Southend. We've been there for over 10 years now. We're a Southend-based business, and we're a Southend-founded business. We do projects with the local council. I don't know if any of you heard of Plasticity, which is a big Southend-based recycling project. So we made a bunch of recycled statues and trophies and things that we use for various bits and bobs. But yeah, we do a lot of like Southend-based stuff. We've got a 3D model of the cursor you can download from our website. That when Arif first moved down here to work at 3D Fingerprint, he didn't realise that the cursor was just down the road when someone asked us to model it. So he went through all these images of like trying to figure it out on Google Street View, getting Google Images, try and get all the different angles, all this sort of stuff. It was only down the road. He would have whizzed around with a drone otherwise. Saved himself a lot of time.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice to know that. Because I've always had a problem when I've been buying online. Like, I see a colour I like, but seeing it from a picture, does that mean I can wander in and have a look at the colours right there?
Yes, exactly. We offer like colour matching services. So if you're looking for something specific, we have loads of printed models, and you can come in and physically inspect the spools. As you've seen online, sometimes something looks pink in a picture due to either a rubbish photo, the colour calibration on your screen, but you can come in and you can match it. We have a colour even that's really similar to like Milwaukee drills and stuff like that. But it's difficult to see that online than seeing it in person, if that makes sense.
So you're cool with me wandering up?
You can come in and have a nosy 5 days a week.
Oh, cool. Okay, thank you.
No, we're more than happy. Some Saturdays, you need to call ahead and check.
Okay.
We are open 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, normal working hours. We have a live chat that's operated by our staff as well, that you can just go on at any time during the workday. So like you can even do it on your phone under your desk sneakily at work, and we can help like diagnose issues, talk to you about materials. We also are on the phone 5 days a week, and we're on email, so you can email us any time of the week, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. A live chat. We have a live chat service on our website.
Ben, I wondered if there's any other questions, feel free to put your hands up. But I wondered if you wanted to chat through some of the examples you brought through tonight as well.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. My Arif will be the beautiful hand model tonight, if he can hold it in front of the camera.
Yeah, can we go to the camera? A bit further back, Arif.
So this is polywood. This is a wood-like filament. Still a little out of focus.
Yeah, we're good.
This is a wood-like filament that doesn't require any special nozzles or any special hardware to print with. So, for example, printers typically come with a 0.4. A lot of wood filaments are recommended larger nozzles, but this can print with a 0.4 with absolutely no issues. It's actually made out of foam, the filament. It's a very different manufacturing process. It's not made using the wood fibres mixed with plastic. It's a unique chemical compound, but you can still sand it and polish it and get really nice finishes. Next, we've got some of our metal filaments. We've got the iron and steel. As you can see, the iron is rusted. We did this with a brine water solution. The iron is magnetic, and the steel is, steel. It's quite heavy. It gets really cold, has a lot of really good like thermal conductivity, so it gets cold really quickly in cold environments. The metal filaments are quite popular, especially we do have some samples with us tonight if anybody's interested. Just hand them around as your leisure. Next we have flexible filaments. So this is one of the examples I was talking about. This is a shoe insole. So you can print these to go under your feet in your shoe. So if you've got high arches or flat feet, for example, it means that you can customize your clothing or other items. We have materials specifically designed for shoe insoles, and we have materials specifically designed for prosthetics. They can be held up against the skin for extremely long periods of time without causing irritation or needing to be cleaned with chemical solutions. A lot of plastics and things like that, a lot of materials, to be honest, will break down under the oils of your skin, but these materials designed for these orthopedic and prosthetic use cases don't.
Do you have to have a file first for that, or is that Arif standing scanning feet?
Well, there are feet scanners, not even joking. You can model it yourself, obviously, but we can help you with that, whichever you'd prefer. Arif might be able to talk about this a bit better than me.
There is a company, it's a sister company of Eason, it's called Eason, and they do produce the feet scanners. We are trying to look into work with them, and hopefully some point they would provide us with the scanner. We did tested one of their scanners. Basically, it's like a flatbed scanner, the old school style, and you put your foot on it and it will scan, and it will measure the depth where it needs to be, etc., etc. Then they have in-house designers as well who can create the whole insoles, and they can provide the insoles. So for the time being, in that perspective, we're talking about them to get that introduced in UK and see how that goes from there. Potential for that is quite massive in terms of NHS, because they technically are overwhelmed with almost everything. So if that kind of service is provided as local, where people can come in, scan their feed, print out within a couple of weeks' time, that would be more beneficial. So that's where it is. If you guys want to have a look, it's called iScan, or ISON, sorry.
I would just like to mention that 3D printing for medicine is becoming, I think it's going to become quite a big thing, and we do already have several materials specialized for it. We have one that specifically simulates bone called Simu bone. It's quite expensive, but for medical students, getting cadavers isn't necessarily the easiest thing, and they can practice drilling into it, and it has the same properties. It's quite popular with vets actually at the moment, isn't it? To be fair, but yeah, for like medical students and things like that, 3D printing prosthetics is obviously going to become more of a thing, and we have, don't know what I should say. People have done projects like that. There you go. Yeah. We do have one when we were talking about the flexible filaments.
Sorry. We do have a filament which is specifically designed for prosthetic use, and it's a flexible material by Color Fab, very sure it's called. And it can be used as a cup holder before you're putting, anybody's putting their prosthetic itself. Then we have filaments which are skin contact safe, some of the flexible ones and some of the normal ones as well. Polypropylene, Ben talked about the polypropylene filament. It's very underrated material. The reason is very underrated is because it's tiny bit difficult to print with. But once you get hold of it and you understand that if it's printing properly, then it's perfect. Because it's food safe, it's non-toxic, you can use it for all different sorts of like cookie cutters, whichever thing you can think of. And it's a very sturdy, very strong material as well. So as I said, it is very underappreciated material, but it is.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, sorry.
Oh, you mean the two-tone? Yeah, sorry, I didn't understand. This was actually printed by one of the Hackspace trustees with one of our own Philiprint brand materials. This is called two-tone PLA, so it's a sort of pearlescent effect. But rather than being, it's difficult to describe really, it comes out much better in video than pictures. This is our blue-green variation. We have a bunch of different colours available, yellow, pink, silver, raspberry, which is like a pink, dark pink colour. Is that coming out right on camera?
You can see that it's two-tone, but it's a bit more effective in real life.
No, fair enough. Well, you'll have to buy some, guys, and find out. You're going to take one, yeah? Perfect. I think that's pretty much everything. Are there any questions from the Twitch chat?
No, we're all good on that sort of things.
Okay.
Any last chance to ask any questions?
So you had the cheese printer there. How much is that?
That's a custom project. You've got to do it with spray can cheese. I believe the clip that I got that from, it's basically just an Ender 3. Someone just took off the extruder, 3D printed a little motor to a button to press the cheese, and that was about it. If you want to do it, I'm sure it would cost you whatever your printer is and how much time you have, as well as a can of spray cheese. So.
Sorry, I'm just going to ask so Philiprint as a company, you actually do your own filaments. What range of filaments do you do? Like, how many different types, how many different colours do you do as a company?
In terms of colours, literally hundreds. We've got.
Sorry, I'll answer the first question. We are resellers. We do not produce any filaments.
Okay.
Some of the filaments we do, they are OEM, and we put our label on them.
Okay.
The rest,
But in our OEM brand materials, Philiprint brands, such as our two-tones, we do like literally hundreds of colours. We do satins, such as the two-tones are, which are shiny. We do matte, and that's just for PLAs. We do glossies. We do PLA, ABS, PET-G. We even do a carbon fibre PET-G. We even had our own metal filaments, which are limited in stock. Loads and loads of different stuff.
Some of the colors, if you guys are really interested in colors, we do some of the brands like Filamentum brands. They do Pantone correct colors. So if somebody is very specific about the color, chances are there will be the color there. And we do have some of the RAL colors on some of the different brands. So 90% chances are that the either same color or very close color will be available. Worst case scenario, if you guys like to paint yourself, you can paint it, prime the parts, and then paint it afterwards. That could be one solution as well. We have customers, like some of the projects customers were doing, like car parts. We do filaments which can be printed and annealed, and once they are annealed, they give you much more higher heat deflection. But in some cases, you would require it to be super heat resistant. So there are sprays out there which can be used, like the radiator paint, basically. It got much more heat resistance to it. There are spray paints which are used for the cars, which can go up to like 700-800 degrees centigrade. So those kind of sprays, yeah, of course, if it's just a PLA, it will melt down or it will deform after a certain temperature, but it will give you that initial heat resistance which would be required. It all depends and comes down to the basic projects, what you would need the items for, where it will be used, what kind of environment. Like some of the filaments we do, it can go up to minus 20 degrees. So if you're printing something which will be used in like walk-in freezers, so you can do that as well. So end of the day, it's all down to the project. And yes, we do have like thousands of different types of filaments. But when the conversation starts, then yeah, we can recommend different things because it's very difficult to pinpoint all of the same things.
Usually use case is a good place to start, isn't it, Aaron?
Yeah,
we can figure out what you want to do with it. Also, a great thing to try is we have filament samples. For PLA, they're only £2.50 pre-VAT and you get 10 metres. And you can print about 2 benches, just over 2 benches with one of these. So you can make like small parts, make sure that it works with your machines. Some people don't like certain materials, like PETG. A lot of people have issues with when they first start printing with it, although it's got a lot of very good use cases. But samples are always something we recommend, because you can, number one, you can check the colours of things, and you can also try before you have to purchase a whole spool for 30 odd pounds or whatever. Particularly for a lot of the engineering materials, samples are quite popular. Yeah.
Then you do small spools as well, don't you?
Yes, we do have a limited selection of small spools. If Arif, would you mind grabbing a 300 gram or a 250 gram? So we do small spools in a couple of colours. It is limited, and we don't do everything in the small spools. It depends on. Really, it depends on demand and things like that. A lot of the time, a kilogram is enough that people can do a few good projects with it, so that's the most popular weight for a spool.
250 grams? 210, yeah, so that's what someone's there. Oh, do you have a full size reel for comparison?
We have a half kilo on the printer. Oh, Steve's running off. He's going to go get one. I'd like to give a special thank you to the trustees who helped us organise this tonight. We've worked with them for a few different events now, ones that we've hosted, ones that they've hosted, and they've always been very courteous and very friendly and supportive.
It's very nice.
Especially
so
Scott,
you're the only ones who say that. Everyone else says we're terrible. But yeah, thank you. Right, lovely. Yeah,
Perfect. Scott's got a
go.
brand new 1 kilogram spool he just purchased from 3D Philiprint.
There we go. So that's what a normal size one looks like. Can I have that small one back again?
This is the lovely Fire Engine Red PETG from eSun, a very popular colour. So it's just under a third of the 1 kilogram spools. And obviously they come in at a relative price.
Thank you, Steve.
We do also do big spools up to 10 kilograms, but obviously you need quite a large project to justify that. Very popular with the universities. Yeah.
Yeah, there is disadvantages with going too heavy on the spool if you've got a spool, printer-mounted spool, though. Right.
Most printers can quite comfortably pull like 3 or 4 kilograms without issues. But
10
when you're
kilos.
going 10 kilograms, your printer's going to start having an issue depending on what you're using, if it's an industrial machine and things like that. But yeah, 3 kilograms, which is the most popular, larger spools, because when you buy bigger spools, you get a better price per kilo. It's just better economy of scale, I suppose. But then you've really got to like lime green to get the 3 kilo lime green.
When I come into your workshop, you had a sawgrass sublimation printer, what do you use that for? Is that in conjunction with your 3D printing?
I don't know if I can talk about that. I'm very sorry. Sublimation is something you can do with 3D printing to create like patterns onto them and things like that. Sublimation.
The Sawgrass sublimation printer you had in the workshop.
Yep.
Are you using that alongside your 3D prints?
To be honest with you, some of the projects we did was all mixed up, like with different mediums. So we tend to do, when we're doing projects, we tend to look into which one would be more beneficial. And time, like time-consuming wise, it's like much easier to do. So we did some letterings and stuff with the sawgrass ones. We did the mugs and the T-shirts and stuff. So with the T-shirts is that if you like to print on T-shirts, you can do that as well, especially if you got like a flexible material. So what you can do is print a couple of layers, put your T-shirt on top of the print bed, and then start printing on top of it. So you could do that kind of thing as well. You can mix and match media, basically. Same case for laser as well. We got laser cutter and engraver, which we use with different projects where it needs to be like wood engraved and put it into the plastic or into the filament itself, or if it's a clear acrylic. We did one of the charity boxes for South Church community, and when I designed it, I forgot to put in the lid on it, or basically how to open it. So it was total close, or like, oh, I forgot to put, yeah, exactly. So the idea was like, okay, just to put a logo and make it as a window so they can unscrew it and take the money out of it. And that was made in clear acrylic so people can see the money's there as well and encourage them.
Yeah, what my co-worker Arif is saying is that having a 3D printer works great with conjunction of like laser engravers, CNCs, but it can operate in and of itself, if that makes sense. Like a CNC is limited in what you can do, a laser engraver is limited in what you can do, but a 3D printer, you can make a 3D object, or you can make like a flat panel object, you can make like a stencil within spray paint. It has a lot of crossover with other creative arts and like technological arts based things, and there's been a lot of crossover. Like people do hydro dipping of like 3D printed parts to put like camouflage onto them and things like that. People do have
Electroplating,
yeah, hydroplating is quite a cool one actually.
Yeah, electroplating.
Yeah.
So you can dip it in or spray it with a copper, and then afterwards you can electroplate it, get like super shiny finish on it.
Or you can use copper filament.
I could use copper filament. The problem with the copper filament is the amount of copper is not that great, so you would not have a very consistent finish with it. Same case, it goes as it's not antibacterial because it's not that amount up there. We do have a couple of antibacterial or antimicrobial filaments which infuse with the copper in them, and the amount of that copper is more than the normal stuff. So which can be used as a default antimicrobial or antibacterial filament.
I think that's about it. We're going to have a little mix around here, but I think that might be it for the stream. Scott's giving me the thumbs up. If there's any questions for the Twitch chat, send them through now. I think we're all good.
Yeah, or drop them in the Discord, and I'll ask the guys from here. So thanks everyone for joining us online, and thanks to everyone in the room. And see you all soon. Cheers, bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.